In this video, we're going to take a look at an Intacct purchasing and receiving workflow using QStock. Let's begin this process by taking a look at a purchasing workflow within Intacct, starting from creating a purchase order document. I've actually created a draft document that we're going to go ahead and take a look at here and now complete. So I've got some items together here for a chemistry buff that might want an Erlenmeyer flask and a couple different test tube related items. We're also going to pick up some isopropyl alcohol as well, and let's go ahead and also have a quantity of 10. All of this stuff looks correct, so let's go ahead and post this document. So now I have created my PO with an Intacct, and with that I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to bring this back up, because what you're going to see is when we're done this physical receiving process, I'm going to come back into this history tab area. Because what's key to our Intacct integration is we've spent a lot of time and energy and focus in really understanding how Intacct posts documents into itself. What matters in these documents, specifically the power of dimensions, making sure that we're carrying that information, all of those types of considerations, so that we can post into Intacct, working with transaction definitions, the way that Intacct posts into Intacct. I'm going to show you a couple different perspectives of how you would interact with the QStock system, all depending who you are. So for example, let's say I'm looking at this from a managerial standpoint. I'm not the person that's actually going to be physically receiving these items, but it does matter to me what's happening with this purchase order. So I can come over here and I can be able to actually see for different purchase orders, I can see 0263, this purchase order that we just made here. The next thing that really should be happening here is when the items show up at the dock or the door, you get let's say a box, you open it up, or a pallet, or a container. What's going to happen is, okay, it's time to actually physically scan these items. Right, so let me show you from the point of view of somebody who is a doer in the warehouse who's physically receiving these items. And if you could see into my office, you'd see that I actually have a mobile handheld sitting in front of me, and you're able to be able to see my screen. It's got a real barcode scanner, so you're going to be able to see that I'm going to be able to do scanning instead of typing. So I'm going to select receiving, and I'm going to go and do a PO receive process. Here, instead of the usual process of people having to print out POs, have a whole stack of POs for the warehouse team to do their work, check, 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 do all of that type of stuff, we want this to be a digital workflow process. So for me in the warehouse, I can actually see the POs that I need to receive. In this case, PO 0263 from A&B Vending. Here it is. And I'm going to tell the system where I am. You'll notice that in the bottom corner, it says that the default area to receive is my receiving area 01-RCV. I could click that, or I could go ahead and also scan as well. With that here, I can be able to actually, instead of having to look on a PO document itself, I have all the information I need to know what items I should be getting and how many of those items I should be getting. You'll notice in the bottom corner I can actually print out labels at this time as well if I need to, right? If items come in and don't have labels, or through UPC cross-referencing, we can also be able to recognize different labels that come in so we can match them with your items as well. Let's go ahead and let's do some scanning here to receive in these items. So I'm going to get some of these Erlenmeyer flasks that are in front of me. Let's say there's only 6 of them in front of me, and then I move a piece of paper and I realize, oh, okay, here's the other 4. I've got all 10. So no problem. All right. So also with that, let's take in some of these other additional items. And for this next and last item, you'll notice that we have the isopropyl alcohol. So I'm going to go ahead and scan this. What's different about this item, and is worth pointing out, customers like medical device companies, you may need to track very specific things because of UDI requirements, or lot, serial, expiry, manufacture date, right? That type of information can actually be embedded in a barcode and read all the way through, or you can be able to enter that information in. Right? So let's say, for example, I've got these items in. I've put in my lot, my expiry information, and I've got 10 of these as well. Great. So now all of this is received. I look at my list of items here. Everything that I should have, I've gotten. It's time to go ahead and back out of this transaction because I'm done. I'm completed with this process here. Are you ready to upload? I click yes. So that is off through the web to shoot back into Intacct. So now backing out the same way that we came into this process, now from a managerial standpoint, instead of a manager having to ask, hey, what happened with this order, they could be able to see, oh, hey, it's gone actually. Now to look at it, it's in my received orders, and I can see 263 right here, and it's all received, right? I can also see a direct history, who touched it, when they touched it, all of that information, where did it go. Now let's go ahead and let's come back into Intacct. To complete the process here, as I mentioned to you, what we're going to do is we're going to look at this exact PO document here again. Now that we've received it, a process we kicked off through QStock to automatically create a PO receiver document. So what's great about this is you see that it has that audit trail here, right? That is created, these documents are linked, and the nice thing is this really allows your accounting team to be able to shift from data entry to data verification, because they can take a look at this. Hey, does it all look correct? If everything looks good, with a single click, you can be able to really convert typically to a vendor invoice document and adding information, right? So it's a major shift instead of all the rekeying that can typically have to occur in a process, especially if you're dealing with all the printing of the POs and that we often find that people are facing. Instead, this is adding to the information and data verification. So recapping what you saw today, what we showed you was that you're able to use Intacct and QStock together to be able to create a process where each of the teams, the financial team and the operational team, can have systems that are specifically focused on their portions of the world, where the finance team can work and create PO documents and vendor invoice documents in Intacct, while that information is automatically through web services transferred through into QStock for somebody from a warehouse managerial perspective to view it, or somebody who is doing the work specifically in receiving to be able to see that right from the dock, right from the door, on a handheld, without having to go to a computer, without having to go to a piece of paper. They can physically scan through barcodes, print barcodes, receive, and when they're done the process, continue the workflow in Intacct without having to do the communication, because the technology is doing the communication. But that's not all we can do. Here are some additional ways where we can add efficiencies and make the work smoother between your finance and your operations team. So for more information, head onto our website at www.qstockinventory.com or give us a call at 408-252-9000. Thanks, and hope to get to talk to you soon.